Now we'll start from the energy side. Of course, get interactive with us. We are live on all our social media handles: X Spaces, YouTube, Facebook, myjoyonline.com, and everywhere that you can watch us. Now, the energy sector is in focus this afternoon. Energy Minister John Jinapor is at the West African Gas Pipeline at WAPCO station in Tema this afternoon. This follows pressure to get the lights back on. He is there to inspect ongoing works on the shutdown pipelines, which is about 70% complete, as engineers race against time to complete the maintenance and restore full gas flow. Now, remember that they are doing this for the next 4 weeks, and it's nearly coming to an end. Now, speaking to journalists in Tema early on, Mr. Jinapor attributed the recent erratic power supply to a challenged energy sector inherited by the NDC administration.
Producing just enough to supply the demand. But because we have no reserves, even if one plant develops a slight problem, it leads to a challenge. But the engineers are able to move quickly to resolve it. And so you realize that even when we have a slight challenge, within a couple of hours, it is restored. But if we had a reserve, if we had a backup, when one plant goes down, another plant quickly takes over. But because of what we inherited and the poor and fragile nature of the electricity system that we inherited, today we simply have no reserve margin, not even 1 megawatt of reserve margin. So occasionally and periodically, as we go through this 1 month period, if one plant develops a slight challenge, then you have the challenge that you witness and what you are talking about. But I thank the engineers. Anytime there's a challenge, they quickly move in and try to restore the plant back. And so rest assured, we are doing everything we can to ensure that we have supply of power. We'll continue to hold the system. But after the pigging exercise, we're going to see a very much more improved delivery of electricity power. And we'll have the redundancy and the margins that we require. But as I said, we have to deal with the financial challenges, which is also critical.
Well, Mr. Jinapor has moved swiftly to implement sweeping reforms. One of his key strategies is the closure of multiple ECG accounts, a move aimed at streamlining revenue collection and ensuring the effectiveness of the waterfall mechanism, which redistributed funds across the energy value chain will help address the challenges facing the sector.
Every day will be about office, banks, ECG contract. It's unsustainable. ECG 1.5 billion. No more keep 500.
That's emerging revenues.
Yes.
1.5 billion.
Yes.
Service providers are on our necks for their monies, but we cannot pay. ECG collects 1.5 billion cedis, but only declare 1 billion and keep 500 for expenses. That shouldn't be. Sometimes the money goes to the app companies. I have written to them to close all accounts and not take any more loans because the cost of financing is too much.
Lies are Tony. Almost I do be a shame middle. So no na enhwenian ton lies no. Na nipa na 5%. We have to do something. That's a fact. And I'm determined to do something as minister. I may not get everything I want, but I am determined to do something. So I've written to them that they should close all those accounts.
Well, while the minister is in Tema exploring solutions to the power crisis, electricity consumers in Kumasi, particularly the central business districts of Adum, are increasingly relying on generators as power outages become the new norm. The Ashanti region for the past few weeks has been grappling with the intermittent power outages, leaving many businesses and residents scrambling for alternative source of power. The situation has become dire as many businesses, including banks, restaurants, and shops, have been forced to rely on gensets as generators to keep their operations running. And Akwatia Yadom engaged traders who are complaining about the high cost of operating these generators amid the intermittent power shortages, and he came through with this report.
The Ashanti region is particularly hard hit by the recent power outages. The thriving streets of Kumasi, the regional capital, are now filled with a cacophony of generators, a stark reminder of the region's power woes.
For the past few weeks, major parts of the Ashanti region have been experiencing consistent or intermittent power cuts. And in the central business district, which is most affected, the traders have been forced to return to the use of generators. Today we took to the streets of the CBD to engage with traders who say that the return of these generators is a clear indication of doom so.
I have bought one generator and I have to get another one for my workplace. Times are hard.
You have last week, this week at Twason.
I believe this is a return of Dumso because the use of generators are on the rise. They should just give us a timetable, and that is better. At the CBD, the frequent power cuts have disrupted production, leading to losses for businesses and affecting the livelihoods of thousands of people. The power outages have also taken a toll on residents who are forced to endure the heat. Dumso has returned, but I believe John Mahama can solve it. The rising cost of fuel has made it challenging for people to afford the expenses of running these generators. ECG PRO for Ashanti West, Benjamin Entry, says measures have been put in place to avert the outages.
I want to assure them that we are working assiduously to fix the problem, but we also need their help. So as we speak, yes, we intend to restore power to our cherished customers within the Doom businesses before close of day today.
He, however, complained about the consistent theft on ECG's electrical installations.
The stolen equipment have affected the 500 kVA transformer, and in view of that, we were unable to supply power supply to our cherished customers. What we are doing as a company is we are trying to put measures in place and rectify the issue to restore power supply to our cherished customers.
The Ashanti region is not the only part of the country affected by the power outages. However, the situation is particularly dire due to the region's high demand for power. For Joy News, Nana Akwatia, Kumasi.
So let's ask some questions this afternoon because we're going into the weekend. Today is Friday, and my expectation from the power sector is that I will have reliable power supply to enjoy my weekend, and I guess that goes for a lot of you out there. But in view of what we are hearing, there appears to be no certainty as to the guaranteed power supply that we expect. So are we going to take the explanation by the minister and then live our lives according to that? Joining us for more on this is the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security, Nana Amoesi. Nana Amoesi, good afternoon. Always a pleasure to have you here on the pod. You've been listening to the Energy Minister. He is in Tema today, inspecting ongoing maintenance work on the WAPCO, gas lines. He says that we don't even have, we have no reserve, and for that reason, we just have to expect whatever that may come our way. Is that the same vibe you get?
Thanks for having me this afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers. This is expected, as we indicated right from late last year, that of course we have a very delicate power system, and so any little glitch could generate doom so for us. The last time this clean up issue came up, we're quite convinced in our mind that fuel issue would definitely bring about some level of doom so. And for us, every doom so is doom so. It can be in low profile doom so or whatever. But we knew very well when we have issues with fuel supply, of course your plants are going to struggle in generating power. Yes, of course, WAPCO has indicated to us that they're going to clean the pipeline, meaning that we are going to lose a chunk of the natural gas that we so much desire and require for our power plants. And that means that we have to fall on liquid fuel to compensate for the loss of natural gas because of the cleanup exercise. We know very well that liquid fuels are quite expensive. And so when you are procuring a very expensive fuel, you are mindful of how you use it. And so our suspicion is that government is trying to throttle or manage how it deploys the liquid fuel at its disposal to the power plants. Hence, at one point in time, you have some plants working and others are made idle for one or two reasons, and one of which you have mentioned, to reserve some fuel for the next day or the few weeks ahead of us. Seeing the energy minister visits the WAPCO, metering station should indicate to you the kind of, frustration or stress government is going through.
Right.
To put WAPCO to finish even before the deadline given, so as to make some savings for government and for the country. And so for us, we know it's a fuel supply issue, so much more than a plant availability issue.
Before WAPCO went offline, the minister spoke to the media, gave indication that government had put in plans to procure the necessary fuel to address the shortfall that WAPCO going offline was going to create. And for that reason, people shouldn't be too much afraid of what was to come. Now, it looks like that assurance is gone off the wind, because you may have the fuel, but the plans probably are not there to help you sustain power supply. Beyond the fuel, are there something that we are missing here, Nana?
Well, I have just touched on the fuel, but even let's go further and discuss the fuel. Yes, government can give you an assurance that I've made plans for imports of liquid fuel. And it's one thing making the procurement, another for the vessel to come within the expected time. And also when the vessel arrives, let's note something here. The receiving facility offshore to contain the vessel, position them and start pumping to onshore, that facility receives fuel for both power plants and for the domestic, markets,
right,
where both the companies bring fuel for OMCs. When these vessels come, they have to struggle to get a space to come in. That's the laker. Last week or last 2 weeks, many vessels will have to be halted to give room for this vessels that are coming for purpose of power generation. And we get the indication that there are some other vessels offshore waiting to come in and bring in fuel for power generation. Meanwhile, we need to match that with the demand for transportation and for other purposes that we need as a country. So both distribution companies are looking for they can to bring fuel for you and I to consume. For transportation, government is also looking for they can to bring in fuel for power, supply reasons. And so that very challenge also exists. That makes it quite difficult for government to bring in the fuel as and when it wants, freely for the power plants. And so it still remains a fuel supply challenge more than a plant being down for maintenance reasons.
All right. So Nana, when the government took office, even before the swearing in, we had been told that the MPP administration left very limited resources for the procurement of fuel. We're even given hours before the situation could get worse. Now WAPCO went off, and then we are struggling to even keep the lights on. We appears not to have a handle as far as the energy sector is concerned. Looking at the how potent it is for economic development, small glitch and we are found wanting. Is it lack of investment? Because we thought that we had the plans. What was needed was to have the money to procure whatever gas or fuel to keep them running. But it looks like the slightest issue, then we are back to the Dumsor era.
Okay, so it's primarily a cash flow challenge, liquidity constraints. You just heard the minister recite saying that ECG first is unable to collect all the revenue expected, and the little that is collected, some of the funds are diverted. Meanwhile, when you look at the value chain, you will find the fuel supplier, you will find the generator, the transmitter of the power, and the distributor of the power, and other players. All these players within the value chain are expected to be reimbursed, or their contribution to the power generation and transmission, their quotas to be given to them. ECG, at the end of the value chain, has to collect all this cash, deposit it within the water cash waterfall mechanism for fair and equitable distribution. ECG is unable to do that. It means that all the utilities within the value chain are struggling for cash flow. And if that's happened, it's difficult for the fuel supplier to supply on time. It becomes difficult for the fuel transmitter WAPCO to transmit. You know, we owe WAPCO as we speak.
Right.
We owe almost all the power plants. That's also another challenge. And even the ECG is unable to retool its system because of inadequate cash flow, same as RICO. And so it's cash flow that has brought us here. And we have to live with it for a while. It's not going to go out with time soon.
But in view of the challenges and the fact that Ghanaians just want to see their lives on, which one should government tackle first as a matter of priority?
Well, every section of the value chain is critical and it's important. You need to touch on all the rest. You can't leave anyone out. But most importantly, we need to address the inefficiencies in the ECG, in particular, and probably also in NEPCO. NEPCO also is a small distributor up north. If we're able to collect the cash, if we're able to do our billing system right and raise enough for everybody's, for every player within the value chain to have a bit of that, they can sustain their business and we can be assured of power supply reliability. Beyond that, if we have money, the first thing we need to look at, solve the challenge with the IPPs we owe them and the power producers. When we clear some of their debts, I'm sure we'll escape the threats that comes to us once in a while. And we need to invest hugely in RICO, the transmission system, and also in ECG. Because you can solve the fuel supply issue, you can generate the power, but you have difficulty transmitting the power through RICO because of aging infrastructure. You have difficulty after you address RICO's issue in the ECG because they also have aging infrastructure which require huge investments. And so it becomes very critical that at this point, Ghana must invest hugely in this sector. Other than that, Doomsor will still stay with us for the rest of the year.
Then clearly we are very far away from saying that we have a reliable energy sector.
Until the elephant in the room is dealt with, until the issues in efficiency in the ECG is addressed, we'll keep on having Doomsor.
And when we hear stuff like, for example, ECG import equipments, it come through the port, they are unable to clear it, you go through demurrage, and then it's auction for a peanut. The ECG go and buy from the person who won the bid and pay thousands of dollars to take it. Then clearly there are structural issues that must be addressed.
This is a syndicated thievery. It is well planned, hatched, and executed. And so we expect the minister and the other handlers of the sector to pursue that case, investigate it to the latter, and ensure that everybody culpable within that stream is dealt with. And we must recover some of this money. That is just a bit of the thing that we're seeing. There are other issues within the ECG that require serious attention. Other than that, we'll have issue. That's where we come to the point where others begin to, oppose privatization of the ECG, and we wonder, do they really understand the issue? We believe that we need private sector participation in the ECG so that we can introduce the needed liquidity and funding to retool ECG system, introduce that efficiency, introduce technology, so that we can deal with the ECG once and for all. We are not saying they should sell the ECG, but we can have private participation in the ECG. And when we do that, I'm sure it will solve some of the headache that we have today.
And I was, before I let you go, so you can enjoy your weekend. I'm having a conversation with the newly appointed CEO of the Toyota Oil Refinery. What concerns does that the institute have as far as getting taught to run and run effectively are?
Well, we say welcome once again and congratulations the MD of us, the MD of Temoyo Refinery, the DMD of Temoyo Refinery. We welcome them, and I'm sure they understand the challenge that's thrust on them. If we don't get Temoyo Refinery working, then of course we can't be so sure about our fuel supply security. It is very critical in the equation of fuel or energy security today. And so the expectation of them is to quickly look for partners that can support them bring the refinery back. We are praying that they put in the right structures so that the flame that we usually see in Tema every night gets up, and then business begin to boom. We pray and we wish them the best.
Namwesi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon here on The Pulse. And of course, we're going to have a longer conversation around TOR, all the issues that are around it. We're going to put it to bear because the new CEO has been tasked to make the place work again. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll have that conversation. You're welcome back. Now, let's talk about Tema Oil Refinery. Now, for years, the country's only state-owned oil refinery, the Tema Oil Refinery, has struggled to remain operational, with successive governments exploring various strategies to restore its viability. Now, from forming numerous partnerships and injecting capital to repeatedly changing CEOs, little progress has been made. Now, today, much of the refinery remains non-functional. The man now tasked with reviving TOR is Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. But just how dire is the situation? Can he succeed, and what would his success mean for the downstream petroleum sector? We are fortunate to have him in the studio with us just this morning. Dr. Suleimana, you're welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you very much.
And a few weeks, months ago, you were a regular on Joy Business, yes, giving your expert's view on issues relating to the energy sector. Now you are part of those making it great.
Yeah.
Before we talk about TOR, this afternoon the Energy Minister was in Tema to inspect ongoing works with the West African gas pipeline, maintenance. Because of what we are witnessing in the last few days, sustainability of energy supply, are you worrying too much, or there's light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I would say there is light at the end of the tunnel, first of all. And of course, I'm equally a bit worried because if you notice, this current administration, what they came to meet was something, precarious. And so if you look at when they came and what is happening, it's clearly that means that some strong foundations were not put in place. And what are those foundations? Historically, we've been highly dependent on external issues or external parties for our energy security. And one of them is West African gas pipeline. That's number one. Number two, also, if you look at our power generation mix, I've always maintained that we've always been sitting on tenterhooks or on the cliff.
Right.
Why? Because if you look at the peak period, even before this administration, the peak period, let's say 8 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Right.
If you check Greco data, most of the time we are almost at the peak, which means that we drastically need to beef up first our power generation pool in terms of how much we have at the pool. We need to have some reserve margins.
And currently we don't have.
It's almost non-existent because we went to sleep at some point in time thinking that we have excess capacity. If you remember,
exactly. We're made to believe that we had more. Perhaps the problem was that we needed more money to buy crude.
It's unfortunate.
Some of the
it's unfortunate we lost beautiful opportunities. But I'm saying there's light at the end of the tunnel because what we failed to do over the years, which the present administration is tackling head on. First of all, is a very excellent stakeholder, consultation.
Right.
It's very key. Sometimes it's just consulting the stakeholder for the person to understand the situation at your side and on the other end, and sometimes things will go. And if you notice when this particular administration came to power, that's what they did. From the petroleum sector, from the power sector. Other than that would have been slammed into immediate doom. But because of that strong, robust stakeholder participation, I think it was able to, if you notice, West African gas pipeline, WAPCO, they had to delay the maintenance because of the stakeholder consultation. That's number one. Number two, what I'm saying, the lights at the end of the tunnel. if you look at our generation mix, the power sector, I mean, the thermal mix contributes significantly, and it's powered by gas. And again, this administration can be credited for Ghana Gas. So what we've called and what we are working towards, first to get another Ghana Gas, another train of Ghana Gas. That is a huge panacea to most of these things that we have. It's not that we don't have the gas. We have a lot of gas within our shops.
So how come we are lacking just because gas from Nigeria has been curtailed?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, because we haven't taken advantage. If you look at the time Ghana Gas came on stream, more than 2015 up to now.
If we had another one, we should have had
another one, or make another train. So at this moment in time, if Ghana Gas has an issue, we have a problem. If any thermal plant has an issue, we have a problem. So, but the good thing is that plants are far advanced to be able to either retool Ghana Gas further to increase a little bit of the capacity to get more of the gas within the same stream.
Or bring another one.
Yes, or bring another one in place. And if you do that, I can tell you, we'll kill two birds with one stone. First, we'll increase our oil production because the gas is obstructing us from producing more oil. And then it will also help us to beef and make our power sector, in terms of power generation, robust at the end of the day. And we'll not be dependent so much on the external pool.
On the external pool.
As we have,
Just a quick one. I do know that we, for example, was constructed. And the main role was to come in during peak hours. Constructed as a peaking dam. I mean, in view of what we are experiencing, is it suggesting that perhaps we are allowing we to run maybe 24 hours?
Yeah, so we is a credible partner so far as the energy sector is concerned. So yes, of course, most of our generation, we will try to maximize them. We'll try to maximize them to the best of our ability in a way. But if you look at over the years, our power consumption has skyrocketed. I mean, the economy is expanding. Our power consumption has skyrocketed. So we haven't, like I mentioned, we've lost opportunity of widening the generation mix.
Right.
And we still have beautiful opportunities. And I've also called that we can try to diversify our generation portfolio to encapsulate a lot of the renewables. Now renewables can become a bit competitive, especially if you put the right regulatory frameworks in place to attract private sector to participate into the space. So with all that, I think if you have multiple sources, and even nuclear, nuclear too is a potential source that we can, though it's long-term wise, by all sources of generation. But what I think we have firm handle on, or where we can easily maximize, is our gas pool. And that will help us a lot with the power generation side.
All right. Now let's talk about the Tema Oil Refinery, the entity that you now head as the Chief Executive Officer. And this morning you had a deba with the workers.
Yes.
How did it go?
Well, it was an exciting moment because that was the first time I had opportunity to, or myself and my deputy had opportunity to meet the entire staff. And I can tell you it was a reflective moment for me because when I watched, then I knew almost 50% of the staff.
Because you've been there?
I've been there, you know. So it went well. They were reassured that, I mean, their homeboy, fortunately myself and my deputy, we have both been there before, you know. So that brought a huge challenge.
Okay. The
good thing is that how the workers are galvanizing, they are eager to get the refinery back to business. And so everything was fantastic. They welcome the idea of some of us taking the championship or being on the hot seat,
right,
you know, to manage the affairs of the refinery. But if you look at the inertia within the refinery front over the years, it's simply not something palatable. And I think we are paying the dividends for that, for the refinery not running.
In fact, we're going to go into deep as to why TOR has been run down the way it is today. But the debate that we had with the workers, I remember when the minister appeared before the appointment committee for his vetting, regarding staffing, he made a point that it's overwhelming. Is there going to be layoffs?
I will tell you no, but maybe restructuring. Because even the core business, if I want to start the core business, I may even need to get people.
You may need to bring more people.
Yes, we may need to even get more people in a way. So it's the kind of, I think it's the kind of restructuring the whole place to concentrate on what you need to do or what deliver the goods at the end of the day. So the CDU and RFCC, as we have now, we've had a lot of exodus, as a matter of fact, because of inactivity. And some of us also we had exited some time ago. Fortunately, we are back to put the place in good shape. So yes, the number isn't much of a problem, I can tell you.
That is if it is running and running effectively.
If it's running. But efficiency is what we need to do, to galvanize everybody, restructure, to make sure that we inject the required efficiencies that is required to get the place into profitability mode. And that's actually what we've started to hit the ground running to do.
But to restructure means that, I mean, if for example, some people do not fit the new model that you are running, they may not be able to go with the flow.
Yeah, so when I say restructure, it doesn't necessarily mean that telling some people to go home. You know, restructuring means that sometimes you need to be able to, when I met them, I told them our core strategy, even as we wait for our board to be in place, for us to share and then map up and put meat onto the core strategy, is to sweat the asset. I told them that sweating the asset simply means that Tor as it stands now, people think Tor is redundant, Tor is useless. I can tell you.
I mean, a lot of people would view that.
Yes.
I mean, the place has been shut down, locked up, and then keys given to the president.
There is a lot of activities ongoing in Tor as we speak now. And if those activities should curtail even, we'll have a lot of crisis. So yes, the core business is not ongoing, but we have a potential for the terminal business that is ongoing. When I talk about terminal business, there's no oil company, either BDC, OMC, that can compete with Tor. Even the new refinery, Centio, they cannot compete with Tor in terms of storage ability.
Okay.
And Tor still have that credibility. So what partnership that we are having now with most of our BDCs, our shareholders, our stakeholders like the BDCs and other players, is the terminal business. And even the terminal business, we are looking into sweating the asset. And when I mentioned to them sweating the asset, what I told them, we need to maximize the potential of every single asset that we have by injecting efficiency. And it was 100% and overwhelmingly endorsed and accepted by the workforce. We need to take the destiny of Tor into our, we need to take ownership of Tor and let it work and work efficiently. And I think the workers overwhelmingly are ready to do that. We are just putting structures in place to make sure probably, our core business is protected, and then what is currently the cash conduit of the refinery, which is the terminal business, like I just mentioned, the loading gantry, the tank farm, the jetties, GPMS, as you know, that is still, Tor has a huge stake in it. All that, they are key to Ghana's energy security, and Tor still controls that. Tor still runs that. So if even the core business is ongoing, it's not ongoing. What I tell my colleague workers, if you don't get this asset base as we have it now, efficient, then even if we are about to do the core business, we may not be able to get it efficient.
Of course, exactly, and even as you restructure, I mean, the other point is that to get it running means you need a right human resource base to get it going. Here is the case, because of the inactions of Tor, you've lost a lot of your guys. You yourself, you went, and now you are back as a CEO.
Yes.
You've lost folks to new refineries already in town. Yes, the FPSO and the rest.
Yes.
Now, to attract people means that you have to have a plan that will suggest to them that we are back to where it used to be. What is the political will to help you move Tor from where it is right now to what it used to be when it was set up by Nkrumah, and the reason why it was set up?
So if you look at the appointment in Tor, with respect to the kind of appointment that is made in most of the energy sector, particularly Tor, you will just on the spot say that without any reservation that the government means business. Because I'm somebody who has talked about Tor. I didn't expect even this appointment, with respect to Tor. I've talked about Tor, and I had Tor at heart over the period, because I believe Tor has the huge potential in it. And when I was given my appointment letter, I was told categorically by my appointing authority that you have free will to let Tor run. And that
was where you include the resources to help you get it run.
Yes. So for supporting base in terms of the political power base, I can tell you that we are highly supported. And the fact that, experts like us are being appointed to champion that, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. And then one thing I will add, Fortunately, this administration has credibility, if I may put it that way, with respect to Tor. The best time Tor ran was the ending of just before Muhammad left power, 2016. Tor had a beautiful time there. And if you ask every worker there, they will tell you that this was one of the most credible moment or most elated moment in Tor, because they had enough cash flow, because the refinery was in business.
Right.
And they left closer to 2 million barrels of oil, crude oil in the refinery. Unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of all this, and everything vaporizes. We are back. So that support base that was given, that support base is still there. And if I wasn't guaranteed of that support base, I can tell you that I would have thought twice about...
Because the support may come in ways, but in terms of backing it with the action, that's sometimes what is lacking.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a state where yesterday, for example, President Mahama was quite clear that the state of the Ghanaian economy is such that, I mean, if he should look back, the words he used was that it was criminally handled. Meaning that we've gotten to a stage where it's difficult to make projections because the financial flow may not be there. Does it mean that you may not rely solely on government support, but government may give you the power to look beyond the support from government and say that, like some entities may do, go to the capital market, look for finance and revive it, because this can pay off for whatever investment that is put in if it's well managed?
Correct. I always mention that. I said, why do we leave this beautiful asset if you look at our downstream? Our downstream controls closer to 8% of our GDP. We spend closer from 350 million to 400 million US dollars on monthly basis to bring in finished products. That has a lot of pressure, and you know it.
Especially on our CD.
That's it. All right. Now, if you check history, those times we had Tor running smoothly. I mean, we had stability of a sort. So it is in our best interest, and I think the president saw it necessary to even put that in their manifesto that they want Tor to be revived. And the fact that some of us are asked to take charge of that mantle, it's a difficult seat, but we are ready for the mantle. How are we going to revive that?
Exactly.
And you put it right.
That was the question.
Tor, even as it is now, yes, we need external support, undoubtedly. We need a bit of capital injection. And I'm happy to tell you that we have a lot of interesting offers on the horizon.
How much, for example, will you require immediately to start work and to bring it up?
For the CDU, the primer plant, maybe I'll take you through what is the process side, but because I've been mentioning the terms so that viewers will understand.
In fact, I think there's a lot of interest in this discussion we're having. I'm getting so many texts. Somebody is asking, Tor's core mandate is to refine crude oil. Currently, both plants, CDU and RFCC, are not running. And they are asking of your plans to bring these plants on stream and any other lines.
Yes, so that's a fact. So if you look at, let me just probably let our viewers understand what we have as a kind of a refinery base. And why Tor is very key, I'm sure we'll talk about why Tor is very key to our downstream. I've already mentioned how you can lift up the pressures on the local currency. If you look at the refinery as it stands now, we have two units. The primary unit is called CDU, crude distillation unit. That is a unit that receives the crude. We just do distillation. It's a very big column. It's one of the beautiful structures that you can have when you go to Tema. There's no structure that is as beautiful as the towers. If you stand at GTP roundabout and look at it at night with the lights, if the refinery is on, it's something beautiful.
You see the flare.
Especially with the flare. So the CDU will process it. We'll get kerosene. We'll get LP. We'll get kerosene. We'll get naphtha, what we call petrol, of course, of low grade, but we'll upgrade it. Then we'll get diesel, what we call Hago and Lago. All this, and then small amount of that. All this can be gotten from the primary distillation column. Now, the bottommost part of it is almost a very cheap product. We call it RFO, residual fuel oil. That is the one that is feeding to the RFCC. So what the RFCC does is just to crack that so-called cheap fuel. And I can tell you, when I was there, we used to call it cash cow. You know why? This feed is very cheap. When you crack it, you're going to get a huge amount of gasoline, what we buy, then a huge amount of LPG. That's why we used to call it cash cow those days.
LPG gas.
Yes, LPG gas. And then the interesting thing is the petrol that is going to come from the RFCC plant, the run is around 94, 95. You know the run we have now?
Yeah, 95.
91 even.
Yes.
The 95 is premium one.
Absolutely.
So that is the opportunity we are missing. So going forward, the administration they've seen it, they've deemed it fit to get Tor back to business, to the core business. And to do that, we are going to get some partnership to partner with Tor, you know, and the partnership, what is simple do is just to lift up pressure from the government to get that amount of money. And if you ask me for CDU, the primer plan, what we require to be able to get it back, if you get closer to 100 million USD, I mean to put everything into very good shape as standard. Because as we have now, when CDU runs, the petrol that is, or the, I'll use the word petrol because I don't want you want to use the naphtha so that people understand. Right. Yeah, that will come. We'll have the sulfur level that doesn't meet the market. I mean, our current market. Okay. Our current market requires some 50 ppm. That's international standard. Even with the 1,500 ppm or 1,200 ppm that will come, there is a way we can get it through. I mean, we have a lot of market for that. Not even in Ghana, the sub-region, we have a huge market for that. And that's actually why we need the investment. What the investment will do is to get us a hydro treater. The hydro treater will be able to reduce the sulfur limit to the barest minimum possible. That will be able to compete with what is imported.
And you are saying that $100 million is what probably may be required now?
Yes. With the ancillary structures, you know, we have a lot of structures that is involved. Apart from the main distillation unit, we'll have most of the department, the safety department, the health, you know, all the allied department. When you encapsulate them and we do the rough mathematics, with $100 million, we'll get it in good shape. But even not that up, I can tell you that as the CDU is standing now, we can run it. We only need, number one, the good thing is the furnace was down. We have the furnace, we have the air cooler. We only need a little bit of turnaround maintenance. And that one, I can say, $10 to $50 million.
And you expect this financing to come from government, or you are looking beyond government? We
are looking beyond that. We are looking for multifaceted sources. For the required capital injection to upgrade it to a standard that can churn out products that will meet the international market, we will need a lot of capital, a bit of capital injection. And that's what I talk about, the 100, closer to $100 million. However, if I have about 10 to 20 million USD, which we are finding even internally, we are exploiting all possibilities, including what it is in ESLA for Tor. We intend to speak to our leaders, look at the possibility, of course, because Boss has been getting that. Absolutely. Whenever we buy a liter of fuel, of course, Boss gets some margin. We also have some time ago. We intend to explore all that. If the government see and deem it fit and see it necessary, which will make our argument out clear, if they deem it fit and see it necessary and can release that, I can tell you, even as we are waiting for investors, and the good thing is that we have a lot of people interested in Tor. Very much interested.
Despite the fact that Tor has been making losses?
It's not making any loss. The loss that people are talking about is because of the inactivity. So when they say Tor is making loss, I ask them, loss on what? The thing is not refining. The core business is ongoing. So it's just unfortunate to say, okay, Tor is making loss. If the core business is not ongoing for almost half a decade now, what do you expect? And when I see Tor workers, I say these guys are performing magic. Because even whatever they pay them is from their IGF, internal generated funds. And how they manage that is just the terminal business. So if they can use
that means the potential is there if we're honest.
Yes. And even if the terminal business can be enhanced, like I mentioned to them this morning, that is what we have. You don't cut the hands that feeds you. Our target is to get the core business back. We don't intend to joke with our terminal business. We have a lot of tanks that are waiting to be repaired. And I can tell you, if you bring all the tanks, about 20 tanks that are idle now, we are working towards to get it repaired and we bring it back on stream. We are talking about $2 billion US on annual basis plus, just only for the idle tanks. Only the idle tanks.
But isn't that the reason why in 2017, the then Minister for Energy, Dr. Mr. Boache wrote to, in fact, it was at an event in the United States of America where the then Tor CEO, Dr. Isaac Osei, was there. And the energy minister's argument was that Tor should be converted into a tank farm to fully concentrate on that. And it became a friction between the Tor CEO and the energy minister. Eventually, that did not materialize. But it was clear in his mind that should be the new focus of Tor.
And that I also vehemently opposed. In fact, if I may make myself clear,
it generate $2 billion.
That's what I'm saying. That is just addition to core business. I'm just saying that because the core business is not ongoing, people are thinking Tor is idle. And I'm just saying that we have other structures that can generate the income, even if the core business is not ongoing. What the minister mentioned then, that a lot of pundits, myself, we kicked against, we can't turn Tor to just a tank farm without concentrating on the core business. The tank farm is just part of it. It's just part of the business. It's just one department called MOP, Movement of Product. It's just one part of it. That is even a minute portion of it.
Right.
So we can't turn the entire refinery business, which is called to refine petroleum product in Ghana. We have crude oil. If we can add value to that, the kind of benefit that we're going to get, we can't turn the whole thing just to be a tank farm. But yes, we have challenges. And the challenges are that because of the dormancy, the inactivity, the inertia within the operations front of the refinery. Refinery equipments are rotating. If you leave them down for quite this elongated period of time, you're bound to have problems. That is how come we may need some turnaround maintenance on some portions, both CDU and RFCC. But our main focus is now on CDU to see how we can, as the fastest possible time, to see how we can bring it back to life. Now, I don't want it to get confused about me saying that the core business, talking about me emphasizing on the tank farm. I'm emphasizing on the tank farm
because
business.
You can generate revenue from there.
Excellent.
Whilst concentrating on the core business.
Excellent. That's the whole thing.
And $2 billion is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And the tanks are idle, actually. Because of inactivity, they've been down for a long time. We only need to retool them and we can be able to generate it. So I'm just saying that even minus the core business, we have huge opportunities within the terminal space, which we don't want to leave to chance.
Right.
Ask around in terms of storage ability. There's nobody who can compete with Tor in terms of even LPG in the sub-region. We have a lot of storage.
In the whole of West Africa.
Yes, we are a force to reckon with. For Ghana, of course, we know.
Right.
But even within the West African sub-region, we are a force to reckon with when it comes to storage. We have about 1,500 times 4. We have 4 spheres. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 6 spheres. That can give us so much. You get a point.
I get
so I am just saying that we still have huge opportunities. So what I tell the workers, even getting the core business back doesn't negate the terminal business. The terminal, in fact, the terminal business, whether we like it or not, is even part of the core business. But if you have the core business running alongside the terminal business, it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely.
So we don't want to turn Tor to tank farm. Let's get it straight. We want to get the core business back.
The interest is growing. So, and I'm getting so many text messages from those who are, I'm sure most of them are workers of Tor.
Yes.
And there's this concern. There's been much argument that Tor cannot refine Ghana crude. And this person is asking, what is your assertion? And if Tor can, what is the plan to liaise with GNPC, for example, Tallow, to refine crude, Ghana crude?
I think that's a very good question. Before we started talking about energy issues, I heard that statement flying, that Tor cannot refine Ghana crude.
Is it true?
That was misleading. In fact, Ghana crude oil is premium type. It is of the Brent and then the WTI ranges.
Right.
When I say Brent and WTI, if you look at the characteristics of those crude, that is ready to trade in the international market, that is Ghana crude.
Right.
The time I was in Tor could refine the dirtiest of crude. And when I say dirtiest of crude, I mean crude which API is quite high. When I say API, the gravity, the heavy crude. And the heavier the crude, the difficult it is to refine.
Because it's like treating bad water. You need more chemicals to do it.
So if you have a plant, it's just like I used to tell people that, you survive on gari, and you just wake up one day and you are provided with fried rice. You will do it and do it easily. So I'm saying that I'm putting in record. Tor can refine Ghana crude 100%. And we don't even need Ghana crude as in totality. We only need a little bit of that because we need also for export. And we'll get a crude that is of low quality and we blend. That reduces the input cost.
Okay.
However, when the output, the product that will come, once they meet the specifications of the international market, you sell it with respect to the international market standard. So we have huge opportunity. Yes, Tor can refine Ghana crude 100%. And even the opportunity is that we need a little bit of it. We'll go and buy something cheap in the market. If the international, right now, the international is around 75 to 80 thereabout. We don't need that much. If you have $45, $50, you can get some cheap crude. You just get maybe 5% of our crude or 10%. We blend it. And the machine will take it. And the kind of product is going to churn out, my brother, is straight to the market, especially the RFCC.
And I'm guessing that if this is up and running and at full capacity, the advantage for the country is that we'll reduce the import of crude. Is that not it?
That's perfect.
And that means that we won't spend so much dollars bringing it up.
You're spot on.
And that will give some help to our city.
Excellent. You're spot on. So I just mentioned that I put a preamble. And the reason why I suspect people are jumping to invest in Tor, and I'm telling you that people are very much interested in Tor, because what should drive your investment is the market. Is there a market for where I'm going to invest in it? And I'm saying that a huge market, not even market.
Is there already?
$400 million on monthly basis, and Tor is not even going to do that. Tor is doing 45,000 barrels. Ghana consumption is about 100,000 barrels in that neighborhood. Tor will do 45, maximum 60. We are only covering...
That's like half of it.
Half of it. If you do 100%, we are only covering that little much. But even that much is going to be a pressure relief on our local currency, a lot. So yes, and that's not all. If you look at what is currently happening now, we are championing the idea of ensuring that we keep our lights on, and Tor is playing a significant, role in that. And how are we doing that? If Tor is running, we are importing light crude oil.
Exactly.
If you manage to let Tor run, the product that I mentioned, the diesel, the kerosene, a component of it is enough to do our power generation. A component of the yes. We don't need the light crude oil. It's quite expensive, but we need it now to do what? To safeguard, to keep the lights on. But even if we manage to have Tor running, the beautiful thing it will do is that we'll get all these products that I talked about, and one component of it, which is the maybe heavy diesel, or the light one, the very bottommost one, which is the RFO. If you don't have the refinery run, it can help us in our power generation. Okay. And all this, we still import them, and it's a huge cost to us. And so that is why His Excellency the President deemed fit to say that I want Tor back. I want to revamp Tor. And has put some of us in charge, and we have taken the challenge to support in that call to get Tor back to business. And if we manage to get Tor back to business, it's going to be a game changer. And one I will mention to you and to the public, Tor shouldn't be a threat to the BDCs. That's what we...
In fact, it is just a test that just came through from somebody who's also watching. I was saying that the BDCs, in a way, are one of Tor's major competitors. So how is the relationship going to be like going forward? Because Tor is supposed to be a state-owned. Okay. Now you have private individuals; they become your competitor. So the question is, the BDC are one of your major competitors. How are you going around this particular?
I don't want it to look like we are major. In fact, we are not supposed to. We are supposed to complement each other. In other jurisdictions, that's how it is. You see, because our sector, we have operated it as disjointed, and I'm happy that this administration is handling it head on, and they are planning to, aggregate all the sectors to link up. So don't be surprised that you end up seeing GMPC partnering with Tor maybe in future to be able to supply crude oil to Tor on commercial basis. It's not like it's a government entity. Tor is government entity, and it's not going to be business as usual. I mean, it's not going to be like efficiency-wise. Right. So GMPC could supply crude to Tor on commercial basis. Okay. And if you are efficient, we are going to return back the money to GMPC, and they'll love it. And if you're able to link up our upstream and then the downstream seamlessly, and the petroleum sector and then the power sector seamlessly, I can tell you that we'll have a holistic, view, and we'll have an arrest. We'll have a complete grasp on our energy security. So to come back to the substantive question, yes, BDCs are not our competitors. They are, even as we speak now, we work with them a lot in the terminal business. Right. Most BDCs, I told you that in Ghana as we speak, there's no BDC that has capability to store product like Tor. Like you do. So how are they surviving? We are in partnership, and that's how come we also get our IGF, internal generated funds. They bring the product, we use our pipelines, our gantry to store the product, and then they pay us what is due us. So we are already partners, but we want to move the partnership beyond that in a way that Tor running shouldn't be a threat to any BDC. It should not be like that. So we rather have to partner even within the core business. What is more beautiful than a BDC lifting product from Tor? Then rather going to Amsterdam or Netherlands to bring the product. I mean, what is more beautiful than that? So we are working towards that to demystify that kind of, that kind of perception. And it's out there that if Tor run, BDCs will collapse. And so people are thinking that, I mean, it's in the best interest of BDCs to get Tor down. No, it's not in anybody's best interest. It is not in anybody's best interest. If BDCs can get the product from Tor, if Tor could be retooled to provide the BDCs, and they've openly, I received the CEO of the BDCs, the Chamber of, I mean, the oil, the distributors, right. BIDEC. He visited in my office, and he expressed his readiness to partner with Tor.
Okay.
So, I mean, we are in serious collaboration, but we want to move to the next level. What we are telling them is, this 400 million that we are taking out, can you rechannel that to invest in Tor? I mean, that's one school of thought. If you can do that to get Tor in good shape, and then we can provide you this product, and then you don't need to travel outside to import it, I think it will be a win-win situation.
It will be good. So this retooling, when exactly is it starting?
So, come again?
The retooling.
Yes.
Is there timelines that you want to get the place up and running to full capacity?
If you finalize with our investor tomorrow,
we will start something.
So there's no timeline. Everything is contingent on the time we're going to get the investor. And I can tell you that we are seriously pursuing that, or we are aggressively pursuing that. And I told you that.
Are there investors that you are talking to?
A lot.
Where has it got into?
I mean, they are interested. We just enter into the space. Of course, every investor will tell you he can partner, but it's now we have to see. But already we have something on the table that we are looking at to find out if it's something that meets the standard and Ghana is not going to shortchange. We are good to go.
The last time similar arrangements took place, it nearly resulted in civil unrest at all.
Of course, we are talking about different administrations altogether, and I just told you that I have a belief that.
But you're not dealing with that same investor. Is it a different investor?
No. Well, that I want to keep. But of course, it's not the same investor. Maybe let me put it on record. We have different investors, and we're open. Even if they want to come back to deal with Tor in good faith, and Ghana is not going to be shortchanged, we are ready.
Okay.
We are ready. But I'm telling you that we have a lot of people showing interest. So people saying that Tor is not profitable, it is not true. Maybe in this current state, we are struggling, but with the required investment, and I'm even telling you that even the core business is not ongoing, Tor is able to survive. But it's just that we are living hand to mouth.
But again, Dr. Suleiman, you know that the investors will look at certain indicators to convince them to say that this is a credible organization that I want to partner with. So when they read stuff like this on the internet, for example, this came from the MPP's running mate, who was then the Minister for Energy, Dr. Matthew Pogu-Prempeh, where he reviewed that crude condensate worth $2.5 million had gone missing from the Temawa refinery. Mr. Prempeh, he says, and to quote him, said, I gave Tor a new business opportunity in the premise fuel market that all the condensate from Ghana gas will be used for making premise fuel. The last time I heard, over $2.5 million worth of condensate had gone missing from Tor.
I've heard about that. I don't know much details about it. I'm sure that was different.
In the handover notes, we were not updated on this.
No. Periodically, we don't have this kind. And I'm just telling you that we are tackling Tor issues holistically. We have a kind of commercial losses and a kind of technical losses. And the workers, I can tell you that the resolution is massive. They are resolved to increase efficiency of Tor. And when I met them this morning, I told them that we need to take this asset and operate it like our private business. Right. And how do you operate your private business? You will not see your private business going down and you leave it to go down.
No.
Even if you see some more practices somewhere, I mean, you need to be able to blow the whistle. But overall, plans are far advanced to ensure that we have robust product accounting. And when I say robust product accounting, all this resulted because we lack some kind of critical flow meters.
Okay.
A flow meter that will tell you how much is coming. For all you know, maybe all this may not be true, but how do you defend that?
Right.
And we are ready to tackle it head on. We are currently in the process of, it's almost, I can say 95% complete. Mm-hmm. Once our board is in place, we're going to get straight to business to fix our flow meters on the tank, especially the LPG FES. Mm-hmm. And most of the tank, the flow lines, we already have a lot of, plans in place, far advanced. I had the handover notes, which we are planning to pursue to make sure that our material balances, when I talk about material balances, nobody brings his product and we don't know how much is coming.
Exactly.
That will be the thing of the past.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you. We are planning, plans are advanced to insert or to install flow meters on the incomings and outgoings. And if you do that,
currently there's none.
It's not enough. It's not enough per standard. And that's actually sometimes where we have products not being, argument on product coming in.
Yeah, that will create room for some of these suspicions.
Yes, and those are sometimes it may not have basis, but when you come to the table, what is the argument? You tell me this amount is coming. I'm sending you 100 metric tons. Is it actually 100 metric tons that is in my tank? So once we have the tank gauges, I think most of these things, it will be history.
Okay.
And I'm assuring you, we are tackling it head on. It's one of our strategies to sweat the asset. And when we say sweat the asset, we want to maximize the potential of every single asset within the refinery. And that includes the tanks, that includes the loading rack, that includes the pipeline interconnections, which we are currently making our monies from. We want to sweat them. And sweating them means that we want to maximize the potentials of them. And that includes increasing the efficiency. So those arms will help us minimize technical losses in terms of the product accountability, how much comes in and how much goes out. Yeah.
There's this also, somebody saying that unionism in TOR is key, and over the years they've seen how strong the unions have been, and how do you intend to work with the unions? And I'm told that currently there are 2 unions operating at TOR.
Yes.
So how do you intend to work with them to achieve utmost efficiency and productivity?
Yeah, it's true. TOR has one of the robust. I just got to know after entering there that they are quite strong. They have, they are at the core of the business. They understand the business. So it's collaboration, it's coordination, understanding why we need to get this business back. And what I said, we met them separately and we met them together.
Okay.
And they've all resolved in unison that they want to support us. They've given us their 100% unflinching support.
Because you've been one of their own.
Possibly the reason, possibly not, but we've been able to meet them and the signal we are getting from the union. And I say kudos to them if they are listening, that we are very much appreciative of the fact that we are getting an overwhelming support. And we tell them, unity is critical to the business. If we are not united, the business is going to suffer, and they understand that. And so I can guarantee you that the kind of assurances that myself and my deputy are getting from the union, it is overwhelming. We only need to safeguard and maintain that. And I think if you do that, the sky will be the limit.
So Suleiman, we are wrapping up. So, the government has a 4-year mandate,
yes,
and you will be there at least for the term. I'm wondering, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind within the period that you serve as CEO of this entity?
Great question. So the legacy that I want to leave behind, I tell them that TOR gave me wheels to enter into the energy industry because I started my service in TOR.
Okay.
And that enabled me to start my career in the energy industry, and that has helped me all this while. What I tell them that I'm bringing that wheels back to you. So the legacy that I want to leave in TOR, I want to leave TOR in a state that the core business will be vibrant, where I can walk past Tema, then I can see the flare clearing. The legacy that I want to leave in TOR, I want to get TOR back to its crown jewel status, its contribution to Ghana GDP. TOR could contribute even since 2006, thereabout. The time I did my service, TOR was a formidable force to reckon with. It could contribute to about 6% of Ghana GDP then.
Right.
I want TOR to be a credible player, to be able to contribute meaningfully to Ghana GDP. And that means that getting the core business back to fruition and then maximizing the potential of the asset base within TOR. If you can do that, I think I will leave TOR as a happy man.
And then we're just right, but somebody just came to with Sentio, and whether Sentio poses a threat to the revival of TOR.
Well, just like I'll say same statement to BDCs. Sentio shouldn't be a threat to us. We can be credible partners to each other. And I'm just telling you that even Sentio is designed to do 100,000. They don't have storage capacity like TOR. So
whichever way, TOR will be relied upon for even those who are perceived to be competitors.
Oh yes. So that is how significant TOR is to Ghana energy security or Ghana energy industry. So the news out there, TOR is redundant, TOR is useless, TOR has debt. I tell them, debt from what? The core business not running. What is that? The workers are performing magic, I can tell you. With the core business not running, and yet they can float. When I say float, I mean they get the salaries, but we need more to happen. So what I would say is that Sentio, we are open to them to partner. We are already in partnership. We've already given them some of our tanks to store some of their products. Even as of now that they are not running. So TOR welcomes Sentio to be a partner. We are not competitors. If they are ready to do credible business with us, and I'm using the word credible because we will not allow anybody to be parasitic on us. We want a symbiotic relationship, a relationship that Ghana will not be shortchanged, a relationship that Ghana will benefit, and then the business partners will also benefit. And I can tell you that even as we speak now, Sentio, we are helping them with some storage ability.
Right.
They can also help us to add value because they may have hydrotreater. They can add value to our naphtha. So we are looking at a number of partnerships. So we say them as partners but not competitors.
Right.
And if you can do that partnership well, I think Ghana will benefit.
So the future is bright.
I think the future is bright. The future is definitely bright, and we have to keep hopes alive, and we have to be optimistic and believe in TOR because TOR will bounce back.
Dr. Suleiman, I will follow the story and will report as and when there's development on TOR. The hope is that TOR will be revived so that it will create jobs. The government wants to run a 24-hour economy. I'm sure TOR is one key entity that can pursue that. And then the way Tema became associated with TOR, that is why a lot of people want to see that come back to fruition. Thank you so much for coming to this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
And you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
We'll take a short break here on the pause and return. Well, I can take you to the Jubilee House now, where the United Kingdom Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner says the UK government is committed to deepening economic ties with Ghana, stressing mutual aspirations for growth and prosperity. Now, speaking during a visit to President Mahama at the Jubilee House, she said the UK government is aligned on growth and sees Ghana as a key partner in this journey, and that they will be there as a friend to support so both economies of the two countries can grow together.
And what struck me is your election was around a 24-hour economy, and we have a mutual aspiration for both the UK economy and here in Ghana. And I was only this morning seeing some of the entrepreneurs you have here and the expansion of jobs that they want to create here in the economy. And our long history of supporting your endeavours is what we're going to continue to do. And I think that we can, achieve great things together. And the fact that the UK government is aligned on growth and your government is focused on growth to create good jobs for people so their living standards are improved is exactly what we're trying to achieve as well. So we will be there as a friend, as we always have been, to support and to make sure that both our economies can grow and that people on the ground really see that and that they're able to get the jobs that fulfill their family life. And that's what we want to achieve. So I'm looking forward to deepening the relationship that both of our countries have had through your government and our UK government.
Well, in response, President Mahama stated that government will make adjustments to the national budget following the US aid funding freeze. Now, he said it is important to maintain strong partnership in these difficult times.
Young, growing population, and so one of the major issues, and that came up strongly in the election, was the issue of jobs. And so working together to see how we can bring in more investments, especially considering that we're shut out of the international credit markets, to bring in more foreign direct investment to be able to create jobs for young people is one of the things that we're going to be focusing on. And I believe that, with the history of British companies investing in Ghana, we've got a long tradition. And so how we can showcase the opportunities that are still available in Ghana and bring more British companies in to come and partner with us in that objective is something that we'll look to do. There's not going to be any change in our foreign policy towards the UK. We even want to work so that we can move our relationship to an even higher level. We have a lot of bilateral cooperation that we want to look at and see how we can align some of those things to fit the vision of the new government. And so we'll be sitting with your representatives here to see what areas of cooperation we're already having, how we can push them faster, and then see how we can align some of those to fit the vision that we have. We're going through an economic crisis that is known by everybody. We're in an IMF program, and one of the things it enjoins us to do is to be very prudent in terms of our fiscal discipline, and to make sure that we're able to come out of the crisis and bring the country back onto the path of growth and create prosperity for our people.
Now from the Jubilee House to Parliament, because the Member of Parliament for Assin-North, James Gyakye-Quayson, is pushing for an expedited process to amend the Constitution and allow dual citizens to hold certain public offices. Now, under the current dispensation, dual citizens cannot become members of Parliament or ministers, among other such offices. In the last Parliament, a bill to amend the Constitution passed the second reading stage, but was not passed before the life of the House expired. Making a statement on Black History Month, Gyakye-Quayson, who was prosecuted for allegedly getting elected as an MP who was a dual citizen, insisted the time is due for change in the law.
Mr. Speaker, Black History Month allows us to reflect on the perseverance of our people throughout history, slavery, institutional racism, and the ongoing fight for equality. Africa, despite being rich in natural resources, remains paradoxically underdeveloped due to centuries of exploitation, colonization, and unfair global systems. I stand here not as a victim of political challenges, but as a testament to the resilience of every Ghanaian who believes in the power of democracy and justice. Mr. Speaker, the fight against dual citizenship, restrictions, and political ambition is not a personal battle, but a national conversation. Our Constitution, while a beacon of democracy, must evolve to reflect the global realities of our people. How do we marginalize those who have sought better opportunities abroad, yet remain deeply connected to Ghana? How do we exclude them from leadership when their hearts, skills, and resources are dedicated to building our nation? Mr. Speaker, it is important that we expedite action on this passage of the Dual Citizenship Amendment Bill.
I believe that there's also a gamut of other duties we have to examine. One of them that I'm also passionate about is the question of taxation, so that if you're a dual citizen and you're entitled to be a member of Parliament, you're entitled to be a Chief Justice, and you are earning your income from, say, the United Kingdom, the Ghanaian tax regime should be able to catch up with you as well. Look at how our democracies, very weak democracies, sometimes even fake democracies, because every time people are looking for opportunities to cheat just to get to power.
We'll stay in Parliament because the minority leader has been addressing a news conference that can take you to Parliament now to listen in.
The mischief he wanted to create was to the effect that no, Mr. Kumi should not be allowed to make his statement. When he realized that there were superior arguments against him, the NDC now resorted to disruption, confusion, and their usual noise making. The practice is that when you make your argument, you sit quietly and allow your colleague opposite to also make his argument. But what did we see? The majority chief whip interrupted me, and when they realized again that there are arguments before the House. Those arguments were being defeated. The majority leader himself now got up and shouted, Mr. Speaker, adjourn. We saw what happened. This is a kind of democracy the NDC wants to practice in Parliament. Today, the NDC is saying that members of Parliament should respect the court. These were the people who were insulting, using unprintable words, just because they disagreed with the Supreme Court ruling in October 2024. We are decent Democrats. Is the reason why we have resorted to lawful processes in addressing our dissatisfaction with the conduct of the Akuffo-Addo High Court judge. We have not used unprintable words against this person, and we will not. But let me give you some information. I believe earlier in the week, my colleague Jerry Ahmed led a press conference and actually shared with you a chronology of events and a chronology of processes filed at the Supreme Court, as well as the very High Court. I would rely on same without wasting your time. But just to briefly put it, that one, there was an application pending before the court, which application sought to stay proceedings. Any fair judge will want to determine that stay of proceedings application before going ahead to hear the substantive matter. The court ignored the stay of proceedings. On the day in question, Mr. Kumi had written to the court for permission. The court again ignored. As we speak, no court process has been served on Mr. Kumi. Neither has any process been served on the Speaker of Parliament, nor the clerk to Parliament. I am the leader of our side. I haven't been invited into a meeting where I have been told that the process has been filed, has been served. So I don't know what the NDC is up to. Again, upon hearing of the decision of the court, Mr. Kumi calls his lawyers to file an appeal and followed it up with a stay of execution of the orders of the court. It is trite knowledge that once a stay of execution process has been filed, the court would have to determine it. So what are we talking about here? Meanwhile, there is another process before the Supreme Court, praying the court to make an order of prohibition and certiorari to quash the earlier orders of the courts. Isn't it also trite that per the laws of Ghana, when an election result is declared, the outcome of an election is declared, after the declaration, the next stage is the gazette. It is only upon gazetting that an aggrieved party may have to file a process in court, petitioning the court and challenging the outcome of the election. And this is supposed to be done within 21 days. The so-called application, which was filed by the opponent of Mr. Ernest Kumi, was not an election petition. Meanwhile, the court claimed that it had taken judicial notice of a press conference of the EC to the effect that the results have been gazetted. So it is going ahead to treat it as an election petition. Now, if you're treating it as an election petition, you have to make a preliminary determination, which is the security for costs. All these things have not been done. We wonder why the judge will go on the path he has chosen to go. But as law-abiding citizens, we will continue to use the judicial processes for justice. As for the NDC, if they think that today they are using an Eskumi to do politics, today is Friday, we are reminding them that next week Thursday, the president will be coming to the chamber. We are reminding them, they have forgotten that they are in government. We are reminding the NDC. So, if today they are the avant-garde of the rule of law, we've heard, good. On Thursday, there are other matters of social justice in the country that perhaps they have overlooked. So if they are showing us a part of social justice and the rule of law, we have heard them. From Tuesday, we, the minority, God willing, will also begin the process of bringing to the fore all the issues that the government must undertake to bring social justice in our country. And we will not limit it to Tuesday. We'll go on Wednesday, go on Thursday, Friday, and we'll continue until all the issues of social justice are addressed. So we thank them for forcing an adjournment today. We thank the NDC majority caucus. We thank them. These are useful lessons. Thank you very much.
Right, so that's the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkun. The matter relates to the Member of Parliament for Akwatia, Index Kumi, who the court imposed some sanctions on him this week for failing to appear before the court at Akuffo-Addo. The member wanted to read a statement on the floor, but he was prevented from doing so because of his legal challenges. And this, the minority finds unacceptable, the reason why they held this news conference to make their points. The member, we are told, has filed some processes in court to stay the execution of the earlier ruling by the court, declaring him wanted and imposing some sanctions on him as well. So that's the minority, Alexander Afenyomarkun. The majority leader has also been meeting on this matter. Remember that we've been the business statement that was read on the floor today referenced the presentation of the State of the Nation address that is coming up on Thursday next week, and that's the reference the minority leader made, that they will be putting up some opposition to it come Thursday, but they will start the action on Tuesday, and that's, we'll try and go to Parliament to have some bites on what really transpired on the floor that led to this news conference we just brought to you. We'll hear from the majority side, the bench, and of course, possibly, if we're able to establish contact with a parliamentary correspondent, we'll hear about the issues that came up. So let me bring in Kwaku Asante, our parliamentary correspondent. So Kwaku, what necessitated this news conference that the minority leader just held?
So Elton, it's been about 45 minutes of really heated exchanges on the floor. It all started when the Member of Parliament for Akwatia, who has now been convicted by Akuffo-Addo High Court, and a bench warrant issued against him, attempted to make a statement on the floor. When the Speaker did give him the opportunity to do so, the majority leader, Mahama Yada, rose to his feet, challenging that privilege being allowed the Member of Parliament. They insist that given that the Member of Parliament has been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction, he must not be allowed to make any statement on the floor, and that doing so will amount to really an affront to the powers of the High Court to do its work, and that so long as that conviction subsists, so long as that conviction is in place, and currently he being a wanted man, and the Ghana police, the court having issued a bench warrant against him, their view is that he must not be allowed to make that statement on the floor of the House. And so Mahama Ayariga did canvass that point, quoting sections of the standing orders, as well as the Constitution to back this point. Then there was the argument from the NPP side, led by Frank Anodompreh and others who at the time were on the floor, who insist that this not even a matter that has come to the attention of Parliament, because despite the fact that this man may have been convicted, Parliament has not been officially informed. And so Parliament cannot afford to be taking such a decision, for which reason they believe that he must be allowed to make this statement on the floor. Roxanne Nelson, the House also came in, arguing a similar point as was taken by his leader. And then ultimately the minority leader also gave his bite. So both sides of the House really were divided on partisan lines, while the NDC MPs believe that Ernest Yaokumi, by virtue of his conviction by a high court for contempt of court and a bench warrant issued against him, he must not be allowed to carry himself as if he's a very normal member of Parliament and for all the privileges to be accorded him, and they will not allow him to make that statement. The NPP side did disagree. At some point, it degenerated into some sort of a confrontation. MPs on both sides getting up on their feet, some of them banging the table, speaking into the microphone. And the speaker presiding, that is the second deputy speaker, sensing how things were degenerating, did ultimately adjourn proceedings to Tuesday. So as we speak, the MP for Akwatia was blocked from making this statement on the floor because the NDC side claimed that given that he has been convicted by a court and a bench warrant issued against him, he should not be allowed to carry himself across like a normal member of Parliament. Okay.
And Waku, in some few seconds, we understand that ahead of the presentation of the State of the Nation, the MPs have been asked to conform to certain rules.
Yes, two main rules. The first is that if you're a member of Parliament and you do not take your seat by 9:15 a.m., you will not be allowed into the chamber. As soon as the President, John Dramani Mahama, enters, National Security will take charge of the perimeter of the chamber. And if you're a member of Parliament and you were not seated by 9:15 a.m., you will not be allowed. Secondly, the car park of members of Parliament ordinarily will also be restricted for use. MPs will be given a different space to park. That space that MPs normally park their cars will be used by the Ghana Armed Forces to form their parade. So these are the two main security arrangements that have been made ahead of Thursday's presentation of the message on the State of the Nation by John Dramani Mahama.
Right, thank you very much, Kwaku Asante, for your time this afternoon. Of course, folks, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Those are the stories you have with the majority blocks Akwatia MP from making statement insisting over conviction. So, plus other compelling stories on myjoyonline.com. Well, whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, of course, this weekend I hope is profitable. Let's Talk Showbiz is up next. My name is Elton Groby. Have a good weekend.